Good. Welcome.
Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. We forgive you. We forgive you.
Stacy's traveling. I'm not very good at adulting all by myself.
That means you got no responsibilities
Means I have all the responsibilities.
until the day she comes back.
Yeah.
That's when you got to really put in the effort.
Yeah.
So, quite another interesting Star Wars, I guess, triple header. Could we call it a triple header? This
Question.
week?
Are you... Because last week you said that it had been a long time since you were treated to that much good Star Wars content.
Yeah.
Can you now say the same thing yet again?
Well, it hasn't been that long. It's been 1 week.
Right. But basically, I mean, the feeling I was left with was that this is like the best evening of Star Wars you had had in a long time.
Yeah, well, last week was pretty gravy, and this week is just as good. But you know what it was is it's been the show's flipped this week. Like last week, obviously both solid. Mando great. This week, both solid. Bad Batch great for me.
Okay.
So much so, the thumbnail this week, I decided I'm not going to show off Mando screenshots anymore. We're going with Bad Batch.
That's a bold move.
And I think we should lead with the Bad Batch.
Let's do it.
It's kind of, it's kind of apples to oranges a little bit because it is the finale of the Bad Batch. So obviously, we were expecting it to be good. Everyone should expect the finale to be good, up the stakes.
Especially a two-parter.
Yeah. And it did. In a lot of ways for me, it really, really worked. So, so let's just dive right into it. Spoilers away. We knew going into this, last week we had, it was kind of obvious. We knew Omega was going to end up in the hands of the Empire.
Yeah, you did.
How it happened. Yeah. And we knew Sid was going to be an asshole and give him up.
You called
Those
that.
Two things happened totally in a completely different way than what I potentially imagined, though.
Okay.
So in order to find Dr. Hemlock, right? Hemlock, yeah. They find out he is at Tarkin's and they want to go put a homing beacon there. And they do swallow Yoda. They definitely do. Feel free to hit up that chat if you got questions as we're going along. So chaos ensues. First off, we got kind of a cool little round table of Tarkin and Krennic. I was like, yeah. And Hemlock, he's pretty up there in that, that circle of
he's
elite.
In that inner circle. Yep.
Right. And Tarkin's kind of, I thought the telling thing was he's kind of grilling him about when's your plan happening, blah, blah. And he starts off with, well, it's very important to the Emperor. Like,
you cannot rush science.
Yeah. So we know now, like everything he's working on is strictly for Palpatine. Like, it does not, that's the secret, obviously we kind of knew that, but this was our confirmation. Everything that this secret science, or what are they called? The special science division, whatever it is.
Applied Science Division.
Yeah. They're working for Palpatine. Directly.
And only Palpatine.
And he even says, there's an interesting quote. He's like, was it Namaste who said it? He's like, what you're asking is impossible. And he's like, no, I'm sure you'll figure it out or whatever. So
he said, make it possible.
Make it possible. I can't help but think the problem is cloning a force sensitive being and having them be force sensitive. That's where my brain's going. That's where I think they're going to do.
Yeah.
It kind of ties into the Thrawn trilogy a little bit with cloning, with the Luke clone and Jorah C'baoth or C'baoth, however you pronounce his name, and how crazy they were and how they were taking force powers and stuff like that. So I think that's where they're heading. Obviously, Palpatine wants to be able to clone himself. I can't think of any other reason than that.
Yeah. Which again would give so much clarification to even things like the sequel trilogy. Like I talked about it last week. Like Snoke looks like a haggard mess. Like it'd be nice to know that he was a successful cloned Sith type deal.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, right? Because it ties this whole idea of cloning, right, started way back in the Clone Wars, and we're seeing in the Bad Batch of how Palpatine's trying to use it. We see in the Mandalorian, which is, I'm thinking about timeline here. We're probably like 15 years maybe from the Bad Batch off the top of my head to the Mando timeline.
Makes sense.
Maybe longer, right? It's 5 years post Jedi. You get what I'm saying. Because on that Imperial base, right, on Navarro, they had those tanks full of cloned things.
Yep.
They've never gone back to it. It was like that one-off shot. Remember, they're looking at the tanks being like, oh, this is like an Imperial research station, whatever. So Ian was doing some sort of cloning. And then you see it all the way up to the sequel trilogy with Palpatine actually being cloned and Snoke being clones. And so it takes them a long time, obviously, to get it to work. But, we know they get it to make it to work. So these are probably just the beginning, seeds, right? Well, that's going to be like a 30+ year project to get, get right, so to speak. So anyways, so while they're on this meeting, they sneak in, they want to put the homing beacon on so they could find out where Hemlock's secret base is, and then they run into our buddy Saw.
Good old Saw Gerrera. Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah, and he couldn't care less what they're doing. Is he just wants to kill as many people as possible, which is on brand for the character. So I'm happy with that. It's kind of, it created a lot of chaos because nothing turns out, you could almost argue that Saw being there ruined everything and set off a chain of events that was extremely not good for the Bad Batch. Not only does the homing beacon, the shuttle gets wiped out, but it puts a target on the Bad Batch's back. It provides them the evidence essentially to know they were there. And, let's lead into the big part of the episode. During the escape on the, I want to call them gondolas, but what do they call them? Sky trains? Something like that. The tension was noticeably a lot more tense.
Yeah, they did a really good job making a cartoon really serious in that moment. They
really watching it, they've been in some tight pinches, but watching those scenes, I was like, I don't know if it was the score, whatever it was, it just, the sense of dread kicked in. I just couldn't help but feel something very not right is about to happen here. And we gotta, pour one out for the homie here. Which again, story writing 101, what character did they give a lot more lines to this season and built up a lot more from season 1? Tech.
Of course. He even had his female interest.
And he's the only one who gets the emotional goodbye. Like, hey, don't, she was basically saying don't hook up with any smugglers, but, she was, saying her kind of goodbye, and Tech was completely oblivious. And he's the one who sacrifices himself for the Bad Batch. And, Omega's an absolute wreck. Like, you thought she was a wreck when Echo left. Like, she's to the point where she was having basically a mental breakdown and blacked out. So, very emotional moment for Tech. I was in my head, I was like, okay, not as emotional as Kanan, but I was like, it was still well done, and definitely a sad moment of the series.
Kanan's will probably always be, from an animated perspective, the best. There's no doubt about it.
We spent a lot of time with Kanan.
A lot of time with Kanan.
And he was the father figure and everything. Thank God they developed Tech more this season to make this a little more emotional payoff. But I want to ask you something about Tech. Okay. So we see Hemlock when they confront them after Sid kind of turns them over, throws Tech's goggles and said, "This was all we could recover from him." What % chance do you have that Tech is actually still alive?
5.
Because the only reason I say that is because they actually went and got the body, right? I'm a big believer of no dead body, not necessarily always dead. But the fact that he grabbed his goggles, it could have been they rescued him, and they were throwing the goggles to antagonize the group. Again, I don't think it's likely. I just want to know if you thought there is a little bit of a.
I hope it's not the case.
Yeah, because if he's still alive, like I was almost expecting that
it
when
takes
Omega
away
was
from
going
it.
in at the end and sees Crosshair, she was going to see Tech like on a med pod
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, no, it sounds awful, but I hope that is the end of Tech. I thought it was really, really well done. I think that if you make him not dead, you lose credibility to that entire episode.
It takes
you
the
really,
emotional
really
punch
do.
away. Yeah. Sometimes some characters just need to stay dead. You know, it's
Yeah.
weird that I guess like I don't know, Echo's going to fill in like the more Tech role, I guess.
Yep.
But I think it's also something they had to do because you know there's so many people now who have survived into the original trilogy timeline.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of room for them. You know what I mean? So slowly having them get potentially killed off,
And it's only like it's gonna happen. Like we're
Yeah.
talking a lot of episodes. At some point, someone's got to go.
Yeah, and I could see like they might keep one of the Bad Batch when everything's said and done, right? Like I thought Crosshair was going to be the one that was going to die this year, but he, it was Tech instead. You know, I could see Wrecker going into sacrifice for Omega. Hunter, maybe Hunter's the one.
I think Hunter's the one, yeah.
You know, you theoretically, if they retired to Pabu or whatever, that'd be a nice tidy bow for them, right? To survive, they just turn into citizens. So yeah, a lot of great action. I thought the action was pretty well shot too. Great emotional punch, and then we get the little tease at the end.
As soon as she took the goggles off, you could see the resemblance.
Yeah,
like literally, you could see it.
And we've been talking that there's something with the one doctor, right? Like she's very sympathetic to the clones, and now we find out why, because she is a clone.
So is she unaltered as well?
I'm assuming so. My only question is why she is old as she is. You know
what
I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like she's unaltered. Oh.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because they told him
guy's reckless.
They asked him to back off because they were trying to save Crosshair at the time. And because of his explosions, it led to Tech's death. I could see that. And, if you fast forward to Andor / Rogue One, it doesn't look like Saw Gerrera has a lot of friends left.
No.
Right?
No, he does not.
Yeah, so I could see them definitely holding the grudge.
They should. I don't think they will.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see. Well,
I don't know if you'll see the closure on that story at all.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see Saw again. But as I'm saying that, I didn't even think we were going to see him this season, and we randomly got him.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then so tie a button on the clone thing. They actively have a clone working for essentially the Empire. And the thing I thought was interesting is I thought they wanted Omega because she was that unaltered clone and all that stuff, but it turns out they just want her as leverage.
Yeah. For Lama.
That was it. Yeah. They just needed her for leverage. Which I thought that was a different direction than I thought they were going to go. So really Namaste she's the key to this whole thing because she's their cloning scientist, and they really need her to start showing them the Kaminoan secrets on how they did what they did. Or else they're going to start taking, as they said, did they say they were going to take Omega apart, or they said they're just going to hurt her or torture her?
They're just going to hurt her. Yeah, it almost takes a bit away from Omega knowing that she has a sibling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it definitely changes
she's not
the direction.
And she's not the first female clone. It's just there's a lot of questions now, and like, why is this clone actively working for the Empire? Like she's been installed in that base, it looks like, since day one, right? Like it doesn't look like she was forced to do anything. So did the Kaminoans like send her off world like immediately? Like did the Galactic Republic pay for her for a different role? Like it's there's a lot of questions there to be answered, because if her age is accelerated to the point,
let's say she's 15 years older.
Yeah.
So she could have been cloned and sent to the Empire early, right?
Yeah, because Boba and Omega are like the kid versions, right? Like there's no growth stuff added to them. They're just like unaltered, just
growing normally. Yep.
So is the Doctor more of like an accelerated growth clone? Like, did they create a sign? Yeah, they've opened up a lot of questions to be asked of her, but I think it's someone who's definitely going to be sympathetic to their cause and maybe an ally within Mount Tantus.
Yeah, and that'll be really the first thing I'm going to want answered is this clone unaltered and was sent off world early? I don't think that's the case. I think this clone is female but has been altered. Does have accelerated growth.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting what they do with it. And we see Echo Wrecker and Hunter essentially, and they have no idea where to go from here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But they said they're going to scour the galaxy, and now I can't help but wonder, next season, is Rex now going to become more of a mainstay? Are they going to use him more because now you're down a member, or is it just going to be more focused on those three? Are they going to bring Cody back a little bit more?
Does Crosshair finally come back?
Yeah. Well, if Crosshair's coming back, that means I think they get to Omega, right?
Yeah.
They're in the same place. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Hopefully they don't take 10 episodes to eventually pick up that storyline in season 3.
So bad.
But we'll see. All right. So let's give this one a rating and we'll move on to Mando.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Yep. 8-7.
What were we last week? Do you remember? For Bad Batch? No. You know what? I was a 9 even. That's what I was.
And I was 8-8 or something like that.
Yeah, 8-8
yeah. Again, 8-7's an amazing score. It was really, really well done. And
that's all you're going. That's all you're giving it.
You got to do something ridiculous to get into the 9s.
I really, really enjoyed these episodes. I'm gonna go 9-4 for the finale of the Bad Batch. Yeah. Like I said before, like the emotional payoff with Tech and the tension, that battle between the cars, I don't know what it was. Like the tension just did it for me. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, the score and what they did with the visuals were amazing.
Yeah. And everything falling into place. I love the tease for next season. I love how kind of hopeless it ended with everything. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
All right, Bad Batch, chapter 21, 22, something like that. Episode 5.
You mean
we
Mando?
Mando. We see the final shots from the trailer. If you watch the trailer, there's that shot where the Mandos are all jumping out of the Gauntlet Starfighter.
So good.
We get that shot.
How about Praz Vizsla?
Paz,
sorry. My God. I thought he was going to be a huge pain in the ass, but after Mando kicked his ass last season, he's really come around.
Yeah, and like I love when Mando's pleading to everyone. I can't force anyone to do that, but Whisper, ask away. You guys, if anyone has a question, feel free to chip in. We'll talk as long as you guys are around. I liked it that he now, if you go back to the Book of Boba Fett, like he you wanted to kick his ass and take the Darksaber from him. Like there was no hesitation. He was going for it, right? And now he's a big softy because his kid, they saved his kid, and he he basically sticks up for Mando here and be like, hey, we're Mandalorians. Like we're, this is the way to help and all that stuff. So, I thought it was a cool moment for him being the one to step up. And then, what did you think about the old seaweed beard being back?
I really didn't like him as a villain. I mean, you and I talked about this. I love the idea behind him. I just think they really missed on the character. It's not very often that they miss, but they really missed.
Like, I don't know what it is. His appearance is quite jarring. Like it was a little bit better for me this episode than the first intro we got to him. I don't know if I just got used to it, but
yeah,
I don't know. It was a little silly. And the fact that he has like the big pirate steering wheel and like his
dumb.
all his like men are dressed like pirates and stuff like I know they're pirates, but they're dressed like they should be sailing like with Johnny Depp. Like it was a little, the aesthetic wasn't quite there for me.
It was too Pirates of the Caribbean for me. Yeah. But having said that, it provided the vehicle for an amazing battle scene. Like,
so
that is what I have been waiting. That is so good.
Yeah, so seeing the Pirate Corsair kind of cruise through the atmosphere and then just start shelling Navarro was cool. And then seeing Mando and the Gauntlet's plan with him distracting them, landing, then her attacking the capital ship, and then them drawing him back. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was well done. If I had any gripe, it's just Mando. Like I said it earlier in the season, Mando in that N1 is just so overpowered. He's OP. Like, there's never a point where I think he's ever in danger flying that ship. Like he's just swooping every
that
angle.
That is not
bam,
a gripe.
Bam, bam, bam.
It's not a gripe for me.
Yeah,
not even a little. That is a flex. I see your gripe and see that as the absolute X factor.
Again, maybe not a gripe, but it's like
it is.
That ship.
It's an unfair advantage. Yeah, and it's amazing.
We need to see him go up against Luthen's ship.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's such a great ship. I mean, the only thing you could say against it was that it really can't transport anyone. It's literally just there to fight.
Attack fighter, right? I see, Whisper, I see your question. We'll talk about it after we're done with the Mando talk. So the other cool part was we get I can't remember his name. The guy from Kim's Convenience who's been in a bunch of episodes.
Crap. I saw his name too when I was watching it.
So it sounds like a V or something like that in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's back, and I thought he's
good to see him back.
He kind of played the detective role here.
Yep.
First off, we get to see like a New Republic little outpost space. It definitely gave me vibes of like World War II. It gave me like playing Battlefield 1942. There's always a map with like little like on a little like Asian island somewhere.
Yeah.
And like, that's just how they look like, right? So that's the vibes I got from, which I thought was cool. We see the Y-wing going slowly in.
I got Solo vibes from the end.
Yeah, true. Where he's playing Sabak at the end. Yeah. We see him flying his X-Wing around. We see them working on ships, like tinkering. It's literally just dudes like maintaining their couple ships, right?
Yeah. And then there's Cantina.
But we get a bar scene, and as he's looking up his holo talking, we see a large Lasat come walking up to the bar, start talking to him, and as he's speaking, it's like, wow, yes, it's a Lasat, but there's no way it's Zeb. And then as he's speaking, wow, that really sounds like Zeb. And I was trying to confirm it before we went on here, but Disney Plus is down. But I think I've seen someone else confirm it, that actually was Steve Blum, whatever his name is, who voiced Zeb.
That would be incredible if that was Zeb.
So again, I haven't personally confirmed this myself, but I've heard that it actually was Steve Blum. So if it is, why would you ever get the original voice actor back if it wasn't Zeb?
That'd be incredible.
Same voice. Okay. So same voice actor. So it was Steve. So that means it's got to be Zeb then.
Has to be.
For one, I thought in live action, I thought he looked great. For one.
Yeah.
Like for being awesome. A giant purple furry alien, you think he'd be looking stupid as old seaweed beard. But I thought he actually looked good. And I have questions now. Why is he like an X-Wing or a Y-Wing pilot?
Here's a better question. Who cares?
I know.
Like maybe there doesn't need to be a deep reason for this. Like the fact that they're dropping these characters in and they're taking a swing. Like we joke about Seaweed Beard as a bit of a miss, but if you look at the execution of Zeb and the other, like it's incredibly well done. So good.
Yeah, I thought he looked good. But yeah, like, you know, we ended with him taking why am I blanking on his name now? Back to their homeworld. Oh, that's gonna bring me. What's his name? the Imperial officer who turned into a rebel and everyone thought might be Crix Medine, like they might retcon him into Crix, but it's not. He never. That is bothering me. Why I can't think of his name. Callus. There we go.
Oh,
Agent Callus. Remember he takes him back because Callus was part of the Empire when they wiped out everyone, right? But yeah, since that, a little happy reunion, Zeb joined up with the Rebellion or maybe the New Republic, and he's
maybe Callus is in there somewhere.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Like
we saw Krennic tonight. I mean, why not get Callus in there?
Yeah, I thought Zeb looked great. I was all for that, and that's Filoni. I think this might be a good spot for him.
That'd be a good idea for this.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about basically the whole pirate thing was to get the Mandos a new home planet, essentially. So they're now going to reside there. But the key point here, pushing the plot forward. I've been talking about it since the first episode that Bo-Katan will be the rightful ruler of Mandalore. She will be the one. And
I have a question though. Hold on a sec, because the armor says it almost seems she doesn't believe her when she says she saw a mythosaur.
Last week we have visions. Like that. Yeah.
And now you've seen one. You are the sign.
She was almost shocked. Like she almost needed time to process that she actually saw one.
When she told her that we should only take her helmet off, she's like,
yeah. So let's get into this. So I wrote down my note. I'm like, Katie Sackhoff must have a helmet clause in her contract where there's not a chance in hell she was going to get Pedro Pascal and have to wear her helmet every episode. So she was just like, and you know what? I like what they're doing with it. They're saying you walk between the two worlds. There's our way, and then there's the rest of Mandalore. You can represent them, but we still accept you. I thought that is like a radical change from the armor for one. Yeah. And that's got to be fueled by the fact that she saw the mythosaur. And the fact that if she saw the mythosaur, that must be recognition that she's like, I don't want to say real Mandalorian in their eyes, but like she might be the one they need to follow, right? So hey, you don't wear your helmet. If you don't want to wear your helmet, fine, like take it off.
Yep.
So I thought that was interesting setup. And now I think we're going to see the recruitment trail start. She's going to probably go and try to rally the rest of the Mandalorians up, like the rest of her crew, right?
Right. And the armorer did say, though, that like to help them walk the way, which means if she's going to recruit them, they got to put the helmet on.
You think, though, even if they follow Bo-Katan's way, though, I think she wants to unite two worlds as one. Like you could be either or, they're not going to judge. They just want a strong Mandalore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you have characters for Ahsoka. Yeah, that's what I can't help but wonder. Like, are they setting up a little cameo of Zeb now, so that when Ahsoka starts to like, oh shit, we need a pilot.
Yeah, and Ezra's obviously confirmed. We know a guy. Yeah, and Ezra's already confirmed as the kid who played
Ezra, Hera, and Sabine. Those were all confirmed.
We know Sabine they have again.
Sabine Wren. What do you mean who's Sabine? Who plays her?
Idiot.
I can't. I don't. They're all everyone they cast.
Sabine Wren. I'm getting off. Get out of here.
I'll kick you off right now.
Jesus Christ.
I don't. I don't know their names. They're not familiar to me.
Sure at what point is Din Djarin going to get to give her the dark saber? Because this has to happen. If she can now walk in both worlds. She wields that thing like a champ, and he walks it around like me trying to chop wood. Like it is just not good.
I can't help but think, I don't know, maybe he gives it to her to unify, but I can't help but feel the mythosaur is the trump card.
Fair.
Like if she's able to prove the mythosaur is there / like I don't know. Is she gonna have to friggin' ride it? Like they said, ride it? Like I don't know.
That'd be dope.
I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but she has to do something.
Like straight Dune. Just get on that sandworm and ride it.
Ride it. Are you kind of? I've seen negative comments of people kind of being worried or upset that the show is becoming more Bo-Katan show and not the Din Djarin show.
Oh no.
For the record, I'm 100% stoked they're going with Bo-Katan a lot. I think it makes a lot of story sense, but
well, I would ask the people that are struggling with that or are throwing a little hate towards it. The show is not called Din Djarin. The show is called The Mandalorian. Just because he's referred to as Mando, we make the assumption that the show is about him. The show is not about him. The show is about the idea of the Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I think it takes to be a Mandalorian.
And it's not one person. The fact that you are getting crazy insights, like seeing Paz's kid, seeing the armor in action, seeing this massive focus towards Bo-Katan Kryze. I mean, to me, this is the perfect evolution of this show, because the show is called The Mandalorian, not the Din Djarin.
The Din Djarin.
Yeah.
You mean it's not called the Grogu?
I mean, for the first season, it was definitely called the Grogu or the Baby Yoda.
All right, and then the more importantly,
the end.
The end. So we haven't heard anything about Gideon all year. Like, I think there was the very first episode, Grief Karga said he's going to be tried, or he was tried, or something like that. And then we get this episode where Kim's Convenience is in there saying, I heard Gideon didn't make a trial. And then this idiot officer, or what was his rank?
Oh my, and you know who that was? That was the ladies' man. He's super, I love that guy. He was in Hubie Halloween. So funny.
Yeah.
When I saw him, I was dying. I'm like, he's one of those guys, like the Kim Convenience guy, who's probably just a huge diehard Star Wars guy. It's like, please, put me in this. Just let me in.
So it looked like he really had no authority, no care of what was going on. And then we see, again, names, terrible with names, but the communication officer from Gideon's troop who set up Dr. Pershing 2 episodes ago, clearly does not want the New Republic poking around in the Outer Rim.
Correct.
And she was dropping stuff in there to dissuade our officer buddy from sending any support out to support Navarro. So she obviously doesn't want any investigation going on. So that, I think right there, if it wasn't already to begin with, your hint that she's actively still working for I theorized she was actually working for Thrawn, but maybe she is still just working like loyalty to the bone to Gideon. And then in the end, we see the shuttle, which was a prison transport that's been blown to hell. And it was Gideon's transport, and all the Republic officers been killed. And then they find some Beskar fragments on the wall. So I propose to you 2 options, probably. Did some sort of Imperial, Thrawn, whoever it may be, set up the Mandalorians as a scapegoat? Or my favorite, or my option, I believe, is did, for example, Bo-Katan's Mandos who left her, who she set her out murking, right?
100%.
Did they get hired by the remnants?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. So they went in there, they broke Gideon out. Which is kind of interesting because Gideon was part of the reason why Mandalore got purged.
Yeah.
And that's if they did do that, that is going to strike a nerve with Bo-Katan and company.
Oh, 100% it will.
Yeah. They're not going to be happy about that. But I think that's where it's going. So essentially, we're 5 episodes in. And Mando seasons are what, normally 8 episodes? That's what they are. Let me see. What was season 2? Yeah, 8 episodes. So we got we got 3 more to go. And I think we have the base story set up for the main. We're gonna have 3 episodes now into the main conflict. It's gonna be basically the Imperial conflict, and we're probably, I think we'll get a Thrawn, maybe, I don't know if do you think we'll see Thrawn on camera?
I hope so. I don't know if we will. I hope we see either Thrawn or Ezra.
Yeah, there was some pretty big. I think I heard Favreau tease that the finale is going to be just as mind blowing as season 2. So,
yeah, I can't wait.
What we got here? Remaining Empire loyal man. Oh, yeah.
Loyal Mandalorians that beat. Oh,
they did have the Gar Saxon squad, right?
That's right.
Would they still be around at this timeline? Because this is post Jedi. Maybe they. Yeah. Maybe there is some loyalty potentially there.
It's so weird seeing Rich chime in here. Last time, Tyler, this is the same Rich that joined us for the last 2 episodes. When he came and hung out with me. He actually sent me a message. Well, when he messaged, he's like, "Where are you guys streaming?" I'm like, "We're on Tyler's channel." So he's like, "Okay." I don't think there's any remnants of those left, Rich. She made reference, Tyler, you said she made reference to the fact that the rest of her crew is out there murking. This is 100% them murking, which would be really tough to swallow, as Moff Gideon would be the last person that any Mandalorian would ever want to save. This is a guy who stole the Darksaber. So
this is did Gar Saxon die? Do we got an official death on him? Let me see. Look this up real quick. He might be old as balls by the time this.
Yeah, he might be really old. He might have a wheelchair jetpack.
Died. Yeah, he gone.
He's dead. Yeah, I thought so.
So it says after the rise of the Empire, Saxon served as the Emperor's hand to Palpatine as the leader of the Imperial Super Commandos until his death on Cronus and 2 BBY. So yeah. But I know it doesn't have to be Saxon, but that those Imperial Super Commandos were converted Mandalorians. But yeah, I think by the time we're in the Mandalorian time frame, those have been phased out, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right, good. What do you give this one as a rating?
9-1.
Oh, so you're that high on this one.
Because I love where it's going. I think that we're seeing the separation of what the show The Mandalorian is about. I love the growth in Paz Vizsla and the Armorer. I love seeing where I think it's heading. Like I have no gripes at all other than Seaweed Beard, which I'll get over. I won't even dock it for it. It's just got such a great mix of incredible low altitude jet fighting, incredible hand-to-hand combat. It's Star Warsy enough, but it's also just great show enough. Like it's hard when you have an incredible first season of a show to back it up and let it grow. Like we've all seen it, right? How many times have you and I talked about a show where like, man, season 1 was incredible. By the time they got to the 3rd season, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like this thing just keeps growing and growing. And Favreau and Filoni are doing such an A1 job of dropping in characters like the Zebs of the world and linking things back to the, to prior seasons. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I think I'm an 8-8 this week. Again, solid, the scale of, or the tension or the stakes, I guess. We're a little more small potatoes this week because we're just dealing with a pirate. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the action was tight. Anytime we get space battles, we even have, the X-Wing and Y-Wing made a cameo. I was dying. I was like, please go rogue and just fly in to help Navarro, please. But he did not do that.
You don't need to when the N1's out there. The most overpowered flex in the Star Wars galaxy next to Luthen.
All right, let's power through some of these questions we got here building up.
All right, let's do it.
All right, episode 3. During Battle Coruscant, was Dooku's death an opportunistic one or an eventual plan of Palpatine? I think it was Palpatine was always looking for the next powerful, apprentice, right? So he saw, in Anakin, like, wow, like that is someone who can help me execute my plan, right? Like he. Mm-hmm. I will say though, the thing that I've always thought about that scene is when he does the old "do it," and then Dooku turns his head and is like what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like
why you're supposed to be my apprentice?
Why he never said anything and just takes it? Like, I don't like it's always, I've always thought to myself, like, man, like in your final moments after getting betrayed, why didn't you do anything? But I guess at that point, even if he said he's a Sith Lord, like no one would ever believe him.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing: a little green poet said, "Always two there are."
Yeah,
can't have three.
No more,
so he had the opportunity for Anakin, and he was happy to sacrifice Dooku, which is too bad because after watching Tales of a Jedi, I want nothing more in my life than a Dooku movie.
All right, next one up. But what if Dooku had overpowered Obi-Wan and Anakin? What was Palpatine's plan then? I see what you're saying.
Knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, I think Palpatine, whether it's his connection to the Force or whatever, like he has been marketed as the, master, part of his power and strength is just how manipulative and, how he was able to foresee everything. Everything has transpired, but his old Jedi life.
I have always been the voice around it. He talks about that in the last movie.
Yeah. So I think it was always his plan, but I think Palpatine could have always rolled with the punches, right? If Dooku defeated Obi-Wan and Anakin, then he would have misjudged or misplaced his faith or his power level in Anakin. And he's like, okay, my apprentice maybe is the appropriate apprentice, right?
Yep.
So I think he would have potentially rolled with the punches there, but I think he knew there's no way, once Anakin got that hate flowing, like that was like that moment, right? That's one of those turning moments for him to observe Anakin and know he could border on that line of, darkness, right?
Yep.
So I think that works into the favor there. What else we got here? It's possible that Vader's reign was the real balance of the Force because he was slaying the vast majority of Jedi compared to the Soul. So it was the prophecy. Yeah, the prophecy is always funny to me. Like I never really truly like it. I don't want to say I don't take it serious. Like I find the prophecy, not that it's silly, but I've always interpreted it as, yes, Anakin was the prophecy to bring balance to the Force. It wasn't on the timeline that people thought it was. Like he eventually brought balance by killing Palpatine and Jedi, right? That was Anakin bringing balance to the Force in that moment. All the Jedis had been killed, right? There's only just Luke left, except for all the ones who are secretly hiding in the background. Palpatine's reign.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Bringing balance
at all. Unfortunately,
what's your interpretation of the prophecy?
Well, I think it's always been misinterpreted. People believe that the prophecy of balance of the Force was to get rid of the Sith, but balance isn't about just light. Balance,
exactly. You need both. You need both.
I think very briefly when Ben Kenobi and Rey were alive, I know people hate on the I can't wait for the comments after this. I think when they were both alive and they joined forces, that was the balance in the Force. It was never one person. The balance in the Force is referenced. And who references it? When the dark rises, its rival on the light will do so. I want to say Snoke said it. And it was in that movie during The Last Jedi that I realized that balance had nothing to do with one person, had nothing to do with Anakin. It had to do with, as one power grew, the other would grow to oppose it. That is where balance lies, is when you have an equal amount of both of something.
Well, that's what Whisper's getting at here, though. He's saying when Order 66 goes down and Vader hunts down all the Jedis, there's literally 2 Sith and Obi-Wan and Yoda in hiding. Theoretically,
that's a valid point, Whisper. Yeah.
Theoretically, bringing balance to the Force was wiping out the Jedi because there's so many of them versus the rule of 2.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's fair, and I think. But Whisper and I were saying the same thing. But
yeah, but the prophecy, though, I feel is interpreted from the Jedi's point of view. Like you're supposed to bring balance to the Force, and Palpatine was so evil, right? Vader was the one to eventually eliminate him.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin, I guess, was in the moment, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, to me, the prophecy's always been funny. It's never, I don't think there's really a 100% true answer. I'm sure some people think there is, but it's something I've kind of just ignored, to be honest. I haven't really found prophecy all that interesting.
Well, I know much you love the sequel trilogy. Do you want to watch The Last Jedi and talk about it?
The Last Jedi is my favorite of the sequel, though. The only one show does his encounter with Vader negate their dialogue. You're just looking for plot holes, eh, Whisper? When they originally announced this and said they were going to fight, I thought it was a big misstep because of the conversation they had, but it doesn't, because when Obi-Wan still defeated Vader, so Obi-Wan still taught him one last lesson as the master. Like, Anakin still had a lesson to learn, which still fits the narrative. Did they need that series? We talked about in our reviews for that. Absolutely not. It was just basically a gratuitous, give you some more Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and some Vader. But yeah, they shoehorned it in there to make it work. But obviously, in the original interpretation on how George Lucas wrote it, I would imagine he thought the battle on Mustafar was the last time.
Yeah.
Which,
but it was it was open enough that you could. Yeah. It was open enough that you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could weasel something else in there. But yeah, in my mind, I still feel like that's the real answer, Mustafar. But US7 episode 3, the prophecy might have been misread. So perhaps between. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's why the prophecy to me is so silly. Like, it's just an ancient reading. Like neither of them could have even been the prophecy. Like, they could still be waiting for the prophecy. Like, as Ged said, Rey could be the prophecy, or Kylo,
100%.
like Ben could have been the prophecy. Like, I don't think, I think with the prophecy, I think it's up to anyone's subjective view. Like, I feel like it could be however you want it to be and fit your internal head canon, make it work for yourself.
I mean, if you think about who those final two people are, right? One is the daughter of Palpatine, who represents the light. And then you have the son of a Skywalker, who represents the dark. Like, to me, that was the most in balance you were ever going to get in the Force.
Yeah. And people turn their nose up to it, Ged, but kind of how you mentioned, if you had the last kind of light Force user, Jedi, in training, and the last kind of Sith dark side user in training, and if they joined forces.
And they were Force linked, remember?
Yeah, and they were Force linked.
More so strengthens my
technically
point. Like,
they would have been the balance if they would, if they were at some level able to align their views, right? But they never were. Kylo still wanted to kill all her friends, and Rey's like, not a chance, stop firing. And he wouldn't do it. So technically they weren't the balance, they could have been. But they were
I think they were. I think that they were good and evil, and I think they were linked by the Force. I think they were the achievement of that balance. It was never going to be good, but it was the equality of on each side linked.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's going to wrap it up. I got to run. So thank you everyone for the comments. If you have any more, leave them in the comment section. I'll try to answer them afterwards.
Yeah. Enjoy the questions. That was fun. I like disagreeing with you, Tyler.
No, it's great. There's nothing wrong with some good conversation. And we'll see everyone next Wednesday, 9:00 for Mando episode 6.
And I will be on time.
On time. All right. Peace out, everyone. Have a good night.
Cheers.